Okay, we need to continue on with First Samuel, chapter 18 through 21 today. Um, the last thing we read about was chapter 17, which was David and Goliath. So now let's go ahead and do First Samuel chapter 18, 19, 20, and 21. At this rate, we will finish the Bible in 1 year. The end of the year. It's taken me a little longer, but it's okay because we still can read the Bible any day and every day of the year. And we need to read this before we die. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First Samuel chapter 18. Saul resents David. Now, when he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. Saul took him that day and would not let him go home to his father's house anymore. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan took off the robe that was on him and gave it to David with his armor, even to his sword and his bow and his belt. So David went out wherever Saul sent him and behaved wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people and also in the sight of Saul's servant. Now it had happened when they were coming home, when David was returning from the slaughter of the Philistines, that the women had come out of the cities of Israel dancing and singing to meet King Saul with tambourines, with joy and musical instruments. So when the women sang and as they danced, they said, Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s. Then Saul was very angry and the saying displeased him. He said, they have ascribed to David 10,000s, and to me they have ascribed only thousands. Now what more can he have but the kingdom? So Saul eyed David from that day forward. Distressing spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied inside the house. So David played music with his hand and other times, but there was a spear in Saul's hand. And Saul cast his spear and said, I will pin David to the wall. But David escaped his presence twice. Now Saul was afraid of David because the Lord was with him, but he had departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from his presence and made him his captain over 1,000. And when he went out, he came in before the people, and David behaved wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Therefore, when Saul saw that he had behaved very wisely and was afraid of him, but all of Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them. Then Saul said to David, here is my older daughter Merab, and I will give her to you as a wife. Only be valiant for me and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul thought, let my hand not be against him, but let the hand of the Philistines be against him. So David said to Saul, who am I, and what is my life or my father's family in Israel, that I would be a son-in-law to the king? But it happened at the time when Merab, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given to Adriel, the Mohelahite, as a wife. Now Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David, and they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. So Saul said, I will give her to him that he may be a snare to him, that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Therefore Saul said to David a second time, you shall be my son-in-law today. And Saul commanded his servants, communicate with David secretly and say, look, the king has delight in you, and all the servants love you. Now therefore become the king's son-in-law. So Saul's servants spoke these words to the hearing of David, and David said, does it seem to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing I am a poor and lighting esteemed man? And the servants of Saul told him, saying, in this manner David spoke. Then Saul said, thus you shall say to David, the king does not desire any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines to take vengeance on the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the end of the Philistines. So when his servants told David these things, it pleased David well to become the king's son-in-law. Now the days had not expired. Therefore David arose and went, and his men, and killed 200 men of the Philistines. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave it to him in a full count to the king. and that he may become the king's son-in-law. Then Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, as a wife. Thus Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was still more afraid of David, so Saul became David's enemy continually. Then the princes of the Philistines went out to war, and so it was, whenever they went out, that David behaved more wisely than all the servants of Saul, and that his name became highly esteemed. 1 Samuel chapter 19. Now Saul spoke to Jonathan his son and to all his servants, and they should kill David. But Jonathan, Saul's son, delighted greatly in David. So Jonathan told David, saying, "My father Saul seeks to kill you. Therefore, please be on your guard until morning and stay in a secret place and hide. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where you are, and I will speak with my father about you. Then what I observe, I will tell you." Thus Jonathan spoke well of David to Saul his father, and said to him, "Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he has not sinned against you, and because his works have been very good towards you. For he took his life into his own hands and killed the Philistine, and the Lord brought him out a great deliverance for all Israel. You saw it and rejoiced. Why then will you sin against innocent blood to kill David without cause?" So Saul heeded the voice of Jonathan, and Saul swore, as the Lord lives, he shall not be killed. Then Jonathan called David, and Jonathan told all these things. So Jonathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in times past. And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines and struck them down with a mighty blow, and they fled from him. Now the distressing spirit from the Lord came upon Saul as he sat in his house with his spear in his hand, and David was playing music in his hand. Then Saul sought to pin David to the wall with a spear, but he slipped away from Saul's presence, and he drove the spear into the wall, so David fled and escaped the night. Saul also sent messengers to David's house and watch him and to kill him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, "If you do not save your life tonight, tomorrow you will be killed." So Michal let David down a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in bed, put a cover of goat's hair for his head, and covered it with his clothes. So when Saul sent messengers to take David, she said, "He is sick." Then Saul sent the messengers back to see David, saying, "Bring him up to me in bed, that I may kill him." And when the messengers came in, there was an image in the bed with a cover of goat's hair for the head. Then Saul said to Michal, "Why have you deceived me like this and sent my enemy away so that he has escaped?" And Michal answered Saul, "He said to me, 'Let me go. Why should I kill you?'" So David fled and escaped and went to Samuel at Ramah and told him that Saul has done to him. And he and Samuel went and stayed at Naioth. Now it was told Saul, saying, "Take note, David is at Naioth in Ramah." Then Saul sent messengers to take David. And when they saw a group of prophets prophesying, and Samuel standing as leader over them, the Spirit of God came upon the messengers of Saul, and they prophesied. And when Saul was told, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. Then Saul sent messengers again for the third time, and they prophesied also. Then also went to Ramah, and came to a great well, which is Sechu. And he asked and said, Where are Samuel and David?" And someone said, "Indeed, they are at Naioth in Ramah." So they went there to Naioth in Ramah. Then the Spirit of God was upon him also, and he went out on and prophesied until he came to Naioth in Ramah. And he also stripped off his clothes and prophesied before Samuel in a like manner, and lay down naked all the day and all night. Therefore he said, "Is Saul also among the prophets?" 1 Samuel chapter 20. Jonathan's loyalty to David. Then David fled from Naioth in Ramah, and went and said to Jonathan, "What have I done? What is my iniquity? And what is my sin before your father, that he seeks my life?" So Jonathan said to him, "By no means you shall not die. Indeed, my father will do nothing either great or small without first telling me. And why should my father hide this thing from me?" it is not so? Then David took an oath again and said, Your father certainly knows that I have found favor in your eyes. And he said, Do not let Jonathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly, as the Lord lives and your soul lives, there is but a step between me and death. So Jonathan said to David, Whatever your self desire, I will do it for you. And David said to Jonathan, Indeed, tomorrow is the new moon, and I will not fall to sit with the king to eat. But let me go that I may hide in the field until the third day at the evening. If your father misses me at all, then say, David earnestly asked permission of me that he might run over to Bethlehem, his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all the family. If he says, Thus it well, your servant will be safe. But if he is angry, be sure that evil is determined by him. Therefore you shall deal kindly with your servant, for you have brought your servant into a covenant of the Lord with you. Nevertheless, if there is iniquity in me, kill yourself, for why should you bring me to your father? But Jonathan said, Far it be it from you, for if I knew certainly that evil was determined by my father to come upon you, then would I not tell you? Then David said to Jonathan, Who will tell me? Or what if your father answers you roughly? And Jonathan said to David, Come, let us go out to the field. So both of them went out to the field. And Jonathan said to David, The Lord God of Israel is witness. When I have sounded out my father sometime tomorrow or the third day, and indeed there is a good toward David, then I will not send you and tell you. May the Lord do so as much more to Jonathan. But if it pleases my father to do you evil, then I will report it to you and send you away, that you may go in safety, and that the Lord be with you as he has been with my father. And you shall not only show me the kindness of the Lord, which while I still live, that I may not die, but you shall not cut off your kindness from my house forever. No, not when the Lord has cut off every one of the enemies of David from the face of the earth. So Jonathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, Let the Lord require it, and at the hand of David's enemies. Now Jonathan again caused David to vow, because he loved him, for he loved him as he loved his own soul. Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is a new moon, and you will be missed, because your seat will be empty. And when you have stayed 3 days, go down quickly, and come to a place where you hid in the day of the deed, and remained by the stone Ezel. Then I will shoot 3 arrows to the side, as though I shot at the target. And there I will send a lad, saying, Go find the arrows, as if I expressly say to the lad, Look, the arrows are on the side of you. Get them and come. Then the Lord lives, there is safety for you and no harm. But if I say thus to the young man, Look, the arrows are beyond you, go your way, for the Lord has sent you away. And it is a matter which you and I have spoken of, indeed, the Lord between you and me forever. Then David hid in the field, and when the new moon had come, the king sat down to eat the feast. Now the king sat on his seat as at other times on the seat by the wall, and Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, but David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul did not say anything that day, for he thought something has happened to him. He is unclean. Surely he is unclean. And it happened the next day, the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said to Jonathan, Why has the son of Jesse not come to eat either yesterday or today? So Jonathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked permission of me to go to Bethlehem. And he said, Please let me go, for our family has a sacrifice in the city, and my brother has commanded me to be there. And now if I found favor in your eyes, please let me get away and see my brothers. Therefore he has not come to the king's table. Then Saul's anger aroused against Jonathan, and he said to him, You son of a perverse, rebellious woman, do I not know that you have chosen the son of Jesse to your own shame and to the shame of your mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse lives on earth, you shall not be established, nor your kingdom. Now therefore send and bring him to me, for he shall surely die. And Jonathan answered Saul the father and said to him, Why should he be killed? What has he done? Then Saul cast a spear to him to kill him, by which Jonathan knew that it was determined by his father to kill David. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, ate no food for the second day of the month, for he has grieved for David because his father had treated him shamefully. And so it was in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and the little lad was with him. And when he said to the lad, "Now run, find the arrows which I shoot." And as the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. When the lad came back to the place where the arrow which Jonathan has shot, Jonathan cried out after the lad and said, "Is not the arrow beyond you?" And Jonathan cried out after the lad, "Make haste, hurry, do not delay." So Jonathan gathered up the arrows and came back to the master. But the lad did not know anything. Only Jonathan and David knew of the matter. Then Jonathan gave his weapons to his lad and said to him, "Go carry them to the city." As soon as the lad had gone, David arose from a place toward the south, fell on his face to the ground, and bowed down 3 times. And they kissed one another and they wept together, but David more so. Then Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, since we have both sworn in the name of the Lord, saying, 'May the Lord be between you and me, and between your descendants and my descendants forever.'" So he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. 1 Samuel chapter 21. David and the holy bread. Now David came to Ahimelech, the priest, and Ahimelech was afraid when he met David and said, "Why are you alone and no one is with you?" So David said to Ahimelech, the priest, "The king has ordered me to do some business and said to me, 'Do not let anyone know anything about the business on which I send you or what I have commanded you.' And I have directed my young man to such a place. Now, therefore, what have you on hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in my hand, or whatever can be found." And the priest answered David and said, "There is no common bread on hand, but there is holy bread. If the young men have at least kept themselves for the woman." Then David answered the priest and said to him, "Truly women have been kept from us about 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in effect common, even though it was consecrated in the vessel this day." So the priest gave him holy bread, for there was no bread, there was the snow bread, which had been taken from the Lord in order to put hot bread in its place on the day when it was taken away. Now a certain man of the servants of the Saul was there that day, detained before the Lord, and his name was Doeg, an Edomite, the chief of the herdsmen who belonged to Saul. And David said to Ahimelech, "Is there not here on hand a spear or a sword? For I have brought neither my sword nor my weapons with me, because the king's business required haste." So the priest said, "The sword of Goliath the Philistine, whom you killed in the valley of Elah, there it is, wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. If you will take that, take it, for there is no other except one here." And David said, "There is none like it. Give it to me." Verse 10. Then David arose and fled that day from before Saul and went to Achish, the king of Gath. And the servants of Achish said to him, "Is this not David, the king of the land? Did they not sing for him to one another in dances, saying, 'Saul has slain his thousands and David his 10,000s?'" Now David took these words to heart and was very much afraid of Achish, the king of Gath. So he changed his behavior before them, pretended madness in their hands, and stretched on the doors of the gate and let his saliva fall down on his beard. Then Achish said to the servants, "Look, you see the man is insane. Why have you brought him to me? Have I need a madman that you have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence? Shall this fellow come into my house?" Well, that's interesting. David playing like he is slow. Very interesting. I'm going to do a little bit research. By the way, did you guys notice that like the new moon was the representation of the first day of the month? I mean, like then the second day of the month was like 2 days after the new moon. So there was a calendar, and it's not the same calendar as what we're going through right now. So, anyways, and that's it. We need to keep it up. 3-4 chapters a day, okay? Thank you. Uh also, I do take the Bible reading very seriously. It's just, I've been going through so much if you guys only knew. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.